kind of just walked into the thickest part that I saw.
Speed camera. Okay. Mark.
16 Delta, take 2.
Alright, Jeff, actually hit the glass here. Set. 3, 2, 1, action. Alright, set. And action.
Yeah.
Split him up.
Yeah.
Because I really do want to get the fall.
Yeah. We'll just have to split it out.
We had a lot of conversations visually between Zach, Ethan, and myself, as well as with Hudson and Ryan and our whole camera team about how we wanted it to look, how we wanted it to feel visually. One thing that we wanted to establish is camera movement. We wanted the camera to pretty much always be moving. We wanted it to feel controlled for the majority of the project. And then when things really hit the fan, we really leaned into the handheld look. So we used that to reflect the character's mentality and how the night was going overall. Another thing that we did that was interesting, this was one of the first things that we talked about and it was written into the script, was that we wanted to get shots from the point of view of the ant. We are in the ant's point of view, inside of a glass, and we are seeing the characters move around the way that the ant would. And we had to get tricky with how we did that. We had to put the widest lens that we could find on the camera. We had to get a big plexiglass, like screen almost, and put it in front of the camera and as close to the lens as possible. So it took quite a bit of experimentation. And I think that it really builds the tension towards the end when you start to feel the presence of the ant, because you're literally seeing the story through its eyes.
And action. And cut.
We were also very intentional with the lighting and how that would contribute to that overall vibe. Basically, we had 3 different colors: yellow, blue, and red. Blue was going to be all of our daytime stuff as well as some of our nighttime sequences. Yellow was nighttime with the lights on.
Say you get some reward you've always dreamed of.
And then red is when those red floodlights come on and the hazmats come in. When we were filming the hazmat stuff, originally we wanted to do practical red lights, but something that we realized very quickly is that when we have those doors open, we're getting all that natural light to come in, which doesn't match the red grade that we're essentially doing in camera. So we had to scrap that and just light as is, just for basically light and shadow. And then Hudson was able to switch our monitors to a special little feature that was purely in black and white, so we could just see the shape of the light versus the actual color that was going on. We're just seeing those light values, so that when we go into post, it doesn't matter what the color looks like actually. All we need to do is just throw a red grade over and it'll still have that same shape of the light.
One of my favorite moments was the final shot of the film. I've always been a big camera and gear guy, and Hudson has obviously one of the nicest cameras that you can buy. So for our last shot, I asked him, I said, hey, would you mind if I operated the camera on this shot? He said, absolutely. He threw it on my shoulder. I think I made us do like 5 or 6 takes, even though we got it on the first one, just because I was having a blast.
All right, everybody, that is a wrap on Mr. Jeff Steele. It's officially a wrap on the production of The Ant.
All right, everybody, get your shit out of my house.
So James Donahue is a composer that we've worked with a couple times now, and we knew that we wanted him to return for The Ant and to do something a little bit more sinister and cinematic and try to push him as well as ourselves in this scoring process. And so we met with him very early on, and he just continually kept sending us samples over the months that followed. The score really did develop, I would say, over the 8 or so months that he worked on it. We were able to do ADR, we were able to do sound effects. My favorite work that he did on this project was probably the end credits song. I think that it just added such a fun element at the end of the story. It perfectly encapsulated the vibe of the film while feeling big and theatrical and overall just fun. I mean, you could hear him just shredding the guitar. It really ended the film on a high note, and I think it's the perfect credits song. The thing that I think I'm most proud of on this film is the work that we did in the editing. We spent over 6 months just trying to get our final cut, simply because we knew that this had a lot of potential and we wanted to get every ounce of that out of it. For a few months into our editing process, we felt like we were 95% of the way there, but we just felt like we couldn't get that 5% of the way. We felt like the ceiling was unable to get broken through. And so in order to maximize this project, we really sat there and thought about it for months about how we could think about some things differently, about how we could potentially switch a few things here and there, increase the pacing, increase the tension, and really bring in a bit more subtlety to the project overall.
The script is very different from the final product. The script was 28 pages, which normally translates to like about a half-hour film, which our film is 16 minutes. So we shot all 28 pages and we ended up like on the cutting room floor being like, wow, this movie is too long. And so we sat down and we found a few scenes we actually just completely got rid of.
Shit.
What happened?
Nothing, I was just getting the wine.
You sure you didn't knock it over by accident?
Yeah, I was over there the whole time. It probably fell on its own.
You think the ant could have?
No, of course not. It was probably our footsteps vibrating the table or something. Speaking of, where is the ant?
All right, let's not freak out. It's got to be around here somewhere.
I have an idea. Careful.
One thing that we took on for the first time in a much more comprehensive way was color grading. This is our baby, so we needed to do it right, which meant a very intensive process, and that was something that mainly fell onto me. It was an absolute blast. It kind of starts at a macro level where you just kind of figure out the vibe, but then you can go in and add a whole lot of subtlety and fun things.
I mean, it's also just kind of cool, you know? Like, I don't want to crush it too badly, but I definitely like how all of our shadows are falling into darkness. But yeah, I guess now that you A/B it is a little bit egregious.
One thing that we really started to do was kind of like some film emulation stuff with little halation marks on kind of the edges of things to really give like that light bleed. There's a lot of different subtle things that consciously you're not aware of, but subconsciously they add so much texture and depth to the image and just make it so much more interesting to look at.
Congratulations for being here at Screamfest this year. How does it feel?
Feels great. It's our first time at the festival. Very excited to see all these films, meet these great people.
This is my favorite project that we've ever done, easily. I mean, coming from the perspective of a writer, it's a lot of the themes and stuff is stuff that I'm interested in and want to see on screen, especially when we talk about genre and it being a horror film. I have wanted to do a horror film for my entire life, and so I'm really happy that we got to do this.
I think that I'm just proud to see us improve on each project and learn things from every project. The basis for this was that we were going to shoot with almost everything in our control, because we've learned in the past that if you can't control something, you don't know how it'll turn out. We really put a lot of effort and thought into controlling everything and preparing for everything that could come our way. But I think that due to the great crew that we assembled and the great cast, that we were able to knock this one out of the park and make this project our best yet.
I think the project turned out fantastic. One thing that's really exciting about this project is this has sort of led me down the rabbit hole of developing a feature, and it's based off of The Ant, which is really exciting.
We say the same thing after every project, that this is the biggest and best thing that we've done and we're so proud of it. That is all true, but I think it's funny that we say the same thing every time we do something. And now we're doing a new one, and once again we're saying, oh, it's the best project, it's the best thing we've ever done. I think that speaks a lot to where we're going. Because this is definitely not going to be the best thing that we've ever done in a couple of years from now, and I hope it's not, because there's definitely a lot of untapped potential, and we've got some stuff on the horizon. It's going to blow it out of the water, I'm sure. Overall, this was just an amazing experience, and I can't wait for the next one. Can I go now? Please, just let me go. Let me go, please. Just let me go. Please let me go.